bend and learn. This is how your success you'll earn. Failure is just a learning opportunity. Lose the fear, set your dreams free. Step out and take the risk. You must go big or go home. Success or bust.
I am the phoenix. I was born in flame and ashes. I will rebuild the world that everyone else trashes. You have the matches, you have the flame. You can light my world on fire, but watch me rise again. I will rebuild the world that everyone else trashes. You have the matches, you have the flame. You can light my world on fire, but watch me rise again. Watch me rise again. Let me warn you, that pain is nothing new. Yes, you can hurt me, but you're not the only one. No, you're not the only one. There's nothing you can do that hasn't already been done. Created the game, you made the rules. I played my part, but I refuse to stay the fool. You can break my heart, but you can't break me. I'm rising up, I'm reaching out, I'm soaring free. I'm soaring free. I am the phoenix, rising up from flame and ashes. I will rebuild the world for everyone else crashes. You have the matches, you have the flame. light this world on fire, then I will rise again. I am the phoenix, watch me rise again.
Indeed, watch me rise again, because that's how I roll. Alright, let's make sure the window capture is correctly doing what it's supposed to do, and it does not appear to be at this exact moment. Interesting. Alright. Let's see why it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Technical difficulties. If not for those, what would I do? Any rate, so while I'm trying to fix this and get this going again, for whatever reason, since it doesn't seem to want to behave itself today. Why? Why, YouTube? Why? Well, it's actually OBS that's giving me the hard time, technically. But at any rate, I was going to tell you the story about how Toxic Chemical Smoothie came to be. See, we used to play, why is it not showing up? It just flat isn't showing up. And I don't really understand why it's doing that. So, at any rate, yes, it is being a petulant child. It behaves itself for Ubi. It doesn't behave itself for me. Which means it's my rival. At any rate, so we had Rock Band. There we go. Thank you, Lord. At any rate, we had Rock Band, the game on PlayStation or whatever, and my son, who was 12 or 13 at the time, and his best friend would come over, and it would be me and his best friend, and then Randy and I playing the Rock Band, and I would do the vocals, and I joked that we should form a band, and his best friend came up with the name Toxic Chemical Smoothie, and I thought that was just so perfect. Ever since then, I've joked around that we should start a real band. Alright. And so I even put together the Facebook page, I have the logo, I have merch. I am the kind of person who, when I get an idea in my head, I will take it to its fullest extent, just to see how far I can go with it. I put together a touring schedule for it too, not touring anywhere. Basically places. Alright, so that's the story. I'm making myself laugh. You guys may or may not find it funny. It's just one of those things. So I'm gonna go ahead and increase the size of this so you guys can actually see it, because I remember we've had a little bit of trouble reading things here and there. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want you guys having eye strain after being on my stream. We'll reduce it a little bit. It needs to be a little bit less than that. There we go. Exactly. When I go big. Right? There's no use in doing anything less. If you're gonna do it right. I used to joke that if you're gonna sin, don't hold back. Sin all the way. No 0 calorie for me. If I'm gonna sin, it's gonna be 100% sugar. Alright, Chapter 18, The Double Agent. Hawkeye used the worm crawl to get himself to a surface that would allow him to cut through the zip ties, holding his arms behind his back. The thick darkness surrounding him and the silence of the place was surreal, but he forced his mind to focus on the senses he had remaining to him so he could ground himself in reality. Once his arms were freed, he focused on undoing his legs. Standing up to stretch, he took his time thinking about what direction to head. That's when he heard the sound of footsteps coming near him. The odd thing was, it didn't sound like multiple footsteps. Just a single pair. An unfamiliar male voice spoke before a flashlight came on, nearly blinding him. A tall, blonde man that he recognized from the finger over his lips. I'm Officer Jacobs. I'm undercover, working for military intelligence. I'm gonna get you out of here. Hawkeye felt his spirits lighten, but just as quickly tapped the brakes on his hopes. How can I be sure? The man gave Hawkeye a measured A measured glance. You can't. But given your options, what choice do you have? Are you really better off in the dark in a portion of the cave you don't know? Hawkeye nodded. You're right. Not many options. Where are we headed? He took 10 steps to follow the man when they froze. Another pair of footsteps. Again, a single pair, not a group. The man looked back at Hawkeye. His face didn't betray his thoughts, but he placed a finger over his lips, urging Hawkeye to silence before turning off the flashlight. A beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing the blonde woman. You! What are you doing with this prisoner? She demanded of the blonde man. He kept his cool and spoke to her in Russian. Hawkeye watched her face closely, trying to gauge the content of the conversation before he reacted to it. So, someone drinks one of these and all is a vivid fever dream. Yeah, no kidding. That would be a toxic chemical ruffle. She barked a command, this time in Russian, and pointed notelessly, kept his cool, and spoke to her in Russian. Hawkeye watched her face closely, trying to gauge the content of their conversation by her reaction to it. No one told you to check on the prisoner, she said. I am in charge. I gives the orders. Who told you to come here? She barked a command, this time in Russian, and pointed in the darkness. Go! Hurry! They will need your help with the supplies. Hawkeye felt a trickle of sweat beat along his forehead as he watched Officer Jacobs leave. This woman was ruthless, and he had no idea what she'd do to him. He wasn't bound now, though. At least they were an even match. The thin light of Jacobs's flashlight disappeared into the darkness before she turned her own flashlight on him. When she spoke, there was no trace of the Russian accent she'd sported just moments ago. I'm Officer Karina Tilston. I'm here to help you. His eyes widened. With your taser? Her mouth twitched. I needed to convince them I was on their side. He raised an eyebrow. By nearly killing me? She shrugged. You're in good enough shape to handle it. And believe me, I couldn't afford to give up the gig too soon. All right. What agency are you with, miss? He asked. CIA. Less talking. You need to hurry. They'll be back soon, she said, taking a few steps forward before yet another pair of footsteps was heard. This is getting ridiculous, Hawkeye thought. Who now? It was DeVries. Great. Just freaking great, he thought. Officer Tolston turned away from him without a second glance to face DeVries. You! What are you doing here? Did I not order you to go load supplies? A slow, lazy smirk spread across DeVries' face. You did, Officer Tolston, but I don't take orders from you. He wondered how Tolston was going to play this. He didn't have long to wait. DeVries doubled up in pain as Tolston pulled out her taser and zapped him. I've been wanting to do that for a long while now, she said. She pulled a couple of zip ties out of her pocket and had him bound before Hawkeye could say a word. He snorted. You and that taser, you practice tying people up for kicks. She raised an eyebrow as she finished and gave him a look. Why, you looking to get yourself tied up again? He shook his head and raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. No, ma'am, not today anyway. Maybe another time. She shook her head and straightened up. All right, enough playing around. This idiot, she said, nudging DeVries with her foot, is a danger to our operations and has been from the beginning. What kind of operation is that? I asked. Getting the map and getting you out of here, she said, as if it should be obvious. Hawkeye frowned. Why do you need the map? I told you the government has it. She held his gaze. The military has it. The CIA doesn't. I don't work for the military. Hawkeye frowned but didn't say anything out loud. Sure. Well, what's the plan? He was stalling, but if it got him out of the cave into a place where he could flag help, so much the better. He didn't trust her, but for the moment, she was his best hope. All right, Chapter 19, A Curious Incident. Mortis sat at a rest table, trying to figure out what to do next. His efforts to put out a signal to the community didn't seem to have done much. He hadn't heard a peep from anyone on Discord. His cell phone wasn't picking up a signal out here either, which was about par for the course. He entertained himself by watching Spin play with a pile of pine cones. He was fresh out of ideas and nervous about going down into the caves themselves. His busted toes and stout figure meant it was going to be a painful walk up and down those stairs, and there were plenty of tight spaces. It was at this point that a white van with several individuals dressed in black caught his attention. They were speaking a language he didn't recognize and pulling large things out of the side of the van. There were about 6 of them, most blonde and tall, definitely fit. Something about them screamed military, though he couldn't have said what it was. Maybe just the tightness of their formation and the level of coordination between them as they worked. He pulled out his cell phone and pretended as if he were reading something, turned on the camera feature, and zoomed in the resolution as far as he could go. That's when he spotted something. A Navy tattoo. It was a small detail, but significant. He remembered Hawkeye telling him a story about his time in the Navy. The connection might be incidental, but it was the strongest lead he had to go on right now. The man sporting the tattoo was an outlier from the rest of the group, dark-haired, shorter. Mortis moved the camera slightly as he pretended to be taking pictures of the scenery around him. He called Sven to him. "Stay close, buddy. I think we're about to be on the move." He trained the camera back in the direction of the van and then panned over to the cave entrance when he noticed one of them scowling in his direction. No need to draw too much attention to himself. He wanted to at least pretend to be an innocent tourist on holiday. But he kept his attention largely trained in the general direction of the van. The minute they made a move, he wanted to follow them to see where things were going. The dark-haired man said something he couldn't make out to the group and then headed to the cave entrance. Mortis wondered what that man was up to. He'd have paid good money to be a fly on the wall. "Sven," he said, "how'd you like an assignment, buddy?" The monkey looked at him and then looked at the cave. Mortis nodded. "Think you can follow that guy?" Sven chittered a bit and then scampered off in the direction the man had gone. At the very least, it gave Mortis a good reason to follow that guy. Nobody could blame him for chasing after his monkey. He gave Sven about a 3-minute head start and then gathered up his stuff, shouldered his packs, and began hobbling in the direction of the cave, calling out, "Sven, come back here! Sven!" as he went. Sven ignored him as he picked up pace. The guys in the van paused to watch him chase after Sven before shaking their heads and getting back to work. He pretended not to notice. It was as painful as he'd feared, hobbling along on those broken toes, but he was determined to catch up to the monkey. It would give him a good excuse for following the dark-haired man if he got caught. He still had no idea if these guys were connected to Hawkeye's disappearance or not, but at the very least they provided a distraction from his boredom. And maybe his investigation into them would bear some fruit in his investigation into Hawkeye's disappearance. He reached the entrance to the cave and peered inside. Sven was just disappearing around a corner, around a bend. Following a monkey. Unbelievable, he chuckled to himself. The monkey disappeared down a dark tunnel, and oh my goodness, we have an error there. And Mortis paused to allow his eyes adjust to the dim lighting before moving forward. He used his cell phone's flashlight feature for a moment to get his bearings and then cocked his ears. He heard voices echoing down there. A woman's voice, followed by a man's, and Hawkeye's. Hawkeye was down there. He hesitated. What if Hawkeye was in danger? Would he put him in more danger by going forward? Just then, Sven came back to him, chittering at full speed, and climbed up his pants, wrapping his tail around his neck and grabbing fistfuls of his hair. He seemed in high distress. What had he seen, Mortis wondered. And that's where we left off, ladies and gentlemen. And now we get question of the day. Do we allow Mortis and Hawkeye to run into each other? Alright, because we could jump out of the scene and focus on somebody else's story at the moment. Or we can follow this through where it logically concludes. Oh, we're split. A yes, a no. Whatever shall we do? At a distance. Well, here's the thing. I have an idea now. thank you guys for your input because I have a very definite idea about what we're going to do. We are, in fact, going to let them intersect, but not quite the way we expect. So let's go. Chapter 20. Oh, and here's the next question. Let's decide this too. Whose point of view is the next chapter? Let's see. We could have it be from Mortis. We could have it be from Spin. Spin? Or we could even do DeVries. There we go. We got 4 options on the table. Let's see where we go. Got 1 vote for DeVries. Okay, let's see who else. All right. We got 1 vote. Well, all right. So we'll start it off with him, and if I decide to in the middle, we can always split. All right, so 2 votes for DeVries. Nice. Let's see what DeVries has to say about this whole thing. Yes, it's okay. I'm sure you were busy. Yep. All right. You know what? Here's a question. All right, so we can play it a couple of ways. There we go. All right, we like the idea of both. All right. Escute. Yeah. security. You're right, Cal. Most men never see it coming. That's exactly what they want. What is that? Let's look at naval security forces on board a ship. I am so not a military girl. Master Arms Security Reaction Forces. That's the Attorney General. That's who. That's not the security. That's who prosecutes people. So it would have been. It's more like whatever lockup would be. Petty office? No, it's not the right words. I know there are better words. Yeah, exactly. They're basically the lawyers. They're not the security forces. They're who the security forces bring you to when you screwed it up bad enough. Right. Devries could taste copper in his mouth when he came to. She tased him! That witch! He couldn't believe it. He'd been surprised when the CIA approached him, offering a plea deal if he'd agreed to become a confidential informant when the whole thing went down with Hawkeye. He'd been sure he was about to lose everything and spend hard time in lockup. Instead, he got knocked down a peg in rankings, but was allowed to keep his pension, his benefits, and his dignity. The CIA even helped him pin the whole thing on Hawkeye as long as he agreed to help them recover the map. Devries had been close to getting it from the security officer's command post, but then it was transferred up the chain of command and out of his division. He had no idea where it disappeared to. Tolston didn't let it go. She told him investigate. Find out where it went and who has it. Our people will put together a plan to get it back. It never occurred to him to ask why the CIA was interested in the map. Devries didn't care. He was just grateful for the ability to keep his neck out of the chopping block. And if Hawkeye got screwed over in the process, that was the cherry on his ice cream cake. It also didn't occur to him. Yeah, that's true. That it's CIA. You're right. I should know. How many episodes have I watched of NCIS? Let's go. Yeah, here we go. But then it was handed off. I think that's what it is. Oh, gosh. All right, now that's not fair. And if I'm telling it from his point of view, I really shouldn't be adding things in because basically I should be showing why I'm stupid, why he's stupid, why I'm stupid, no, why he's stupid, and not, all right. So we're just showing basically that he's got no integrity whatsoever. As long as it benefits him, he does not care. He doesn't care if there's hanky panky going on. He doesn't care if there's other people in danger as long as he's getting what he wants out of the situation. So, yes, he is the ultimate in looking out for number one, absolute short sightedness. All right. He made a move to stand up and ended up smashing his nose on a nearby crevice. Ouch! Blood trickled from his nose, but with his hands tied behind his back, there wasn't a lot he could do about it. So, all right. Okay, so military intelligence has been onto this, which is why Officer Jacobs got involved. They're trying to figure out. Yeah, let's see. Let's figure out what the story is here. So let's think this through. So we've got Officer Jacobs, who's with military intelligence, Officer Tolston, who's with the CIA and trying to get the map. The CIA is obviously working with these Russians, so we got to ask ourselves why. Now, and what's the map got to do with everything? What is the map pointing to? So these are the questions we need to ask and answer before we keep writing. One, what does the map point to? And why is it so important? Because that's going to tell us a lot about how our story goes from here. Is investigating this group for military intelligence. So what's the CIA up to? The CIA clearly does not want the military to know they were involved in the drug operation. Hawkeye busted open. So what was their involvement? Why the secrecy? Or how do the Russians play into the whole thing? We know that they want Hawkeye because they think Hawkeye can help them. And how do they expect Hawkeye to help them get the map back? All right, I am going to take a short break. I will be right back. You guys think about it while I'm gone. Type your ideas in the chat. Ooh, that's a good idea, Cal. A long-term development project. Maybe the map points to okay, so ideas. Ooh. Here's some ideas. Let's go for it. Let's see what the map points toward. Okay, so what does the map point toward? A long-term development project, possibility. A hidden base of operations, possibility. Let's see. Yeah, of course you're gonna like that one, Cal. Buried supply shipment or a bunker with nuke codes. So the question you're gonna have to answer if we go with that is, what development project is it? What are they developing? What's worth all this trouble? But you know, that actually makes a lot of sense. If the military stumbled across a CIA's long-term development project and interrupted it, then, and basically, yeah. Ooh. I like it, Cal. I like it. Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe it's a long-term development, a hidden base of operations with a long-term yeah, let's go with that. Okay, so here's what the map points toward based on all this. Okay. Ooh, yes. Yes, that's a very CIA play right there. Selling drugs to finance it out of everyone's view. Yeah, exactly. It was Black Ops and definitely off the books. Okay, so Officer Jacobs as an undercover agent investigating DeVries because of his connection to the drug operation, and is also investigating Alston. Now, so that's how that's connected together. The question we now have is, I like it. Yep. That's really good. We're really doing that's actually brilliant. So that's what the map points toward. That's why it's important enough. The CIA doesn't want the military to know because the military's trying to find out what it's all about. The military is not involved, isn't involved in this. And the CIA doesn't want them to know because they would rebel against the whole plot, as it requires the use of the military to destabilize countries that balk against CIA control. Oh, that's okay, Timmy. It's alright, man. Sometimes YouTube does that. We're figuring out how things connect together. So you haven't really missed anything. We have answered the question of why is the map point, what's the map point toward, and why is it so important? That answers that. Now, officers, so what is the CIA up to? The CIA wants that map back. All right. And that answers those questions. How do the Russians play into the whole thing? The Russians are responsible for the drug fields in Afghanistan. Ex-military that are now operating as mercenaries for hire. That's the next question we gotta ask. We're playing with Legos, yes. We're figuring out how everything connects together. How does the CIA It's good to see you, Malachi. No worries. You and Timmy both. Let go my ego. No kidding. All right. How does the CIA expect Hawkeye to help them get the map back? Because they don't yet know that Hawkeye has a photographic memory, so they aren't aware of that. They don't know that what he's fully capable of doing. But he is the one who found the map. So, the CIA knows about Hawkeye's memory. Well, if they did count that, the only problem I have with that idea is that if the CIA already knew about it, would they have risked tasing him twice in case it ruined his memory somehow? And they haven't acted like they know. So, but that would make sense if they knew about his photographic memory. Actually, you know what? That actually probably is the most logical. And the way they could have known about that is they were running special projects as part of MK Ultra. This is on the books, factual. As part of MK Ultra, that gifted and talented education program that they were running in the 70s and 80s was all about targeting kids with special abilities to cultivate for various projects of theirs. So maybe that's how Hawkeye got on the radar initially. And when he went into the military, they figured alright, yeah. The CIA knows about Hawkeye's memory, photographic memory, and are convinced he'll help them with the right pressure. Get me loose and get help. So that's good. The pickups Ted sent you cleaned up very nicely. That's good, Malachi. You know what? He's not an ouch kind of guy. He's a that kind of guy. He doesn't know he's Jacobs yet. They're not contagious anymore. They were the bug infected things. Ew, gross. Nasty fungal stuff. You'd be a great grandpa in 9 months. That's awesome. Let's see. Devries' dilemma. Devries could taste copper in his mouth when he came to. She tased him! That witch! He couldn't believe it. He'd been surprised when the CIA approached him, offering a plea deal if he'd agree to become a confidential informant when the whole thing went down with Hawkeye. He'd been sure he was about to lose everything and spend hard time in lockup. Instead, he got knocked down a peg in rankings, but was allowed to keep his pension, his benefits, and his dignity, as long as he kept the CIA happy. The CIA even helped him pin the whole thing on Hawkeye as long as he agreed to help them recover the map. Let's see, as long as he agreed to help them recover the map and keep them their questions about the military operations answered. Devries was close to getting the map. From the security officer's command post, but then it was handed off to someone in NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigation Services. It was out of his hands, or so he thought. Tolston didn't let it go. She told him, investigate. Find out what they've done with it, and our people will put together a plan to get it back. It never occurred to him to ask why the CIA was interested in the map. Devries didn't care. He was just grateful for the ability to keep his neck out of the chopping block. And if Hawkeye got screwed over in the process, that was the cherry on his ice cream cake. It also didn't occur to him to ask why the CIA couldn't just talk to the military and get it from them. As long as it benefited him, that was all that mattered. He made a move to stand up and ended up smashing his nose on a nearby crevice. Son of a bitch! His blood trickled from his nose, but with his hands tied behind his back, there wasn't a lot he could do about it. I swear I'll get her back for that, he thought. Maybe a few of those Russians would be interested in knowing her real identity. He smirked at the thought of what they might do to her once they found out. She didn't treat anyone around her very well, and he was fairly certain nobody else liked her either. His fantasies about that came to an abrupt halt, though, when a flashlight shone in his eyes. One of Tolston's blonde Russians stood there. He told the man in Russian, Hawkeye's escaped. He broke loose from his ties and got me. Get me loose and get some help. The man stared down at DeVries and crossed his arms over his chest. When he spoke, it was in perfect English. I don't think so, DeVries. I've been waiting a while to get you alone. You and I are gonna have a talk. DeVries felt his stomach drop. Who the heck are you? The man shook his head. You'll get answers to your questions when I get answers to mine. DeVries didn't like that. I'll scream, the man chuckled. I wouldn't do that if I were you. All it takes from me is a single word in Russian, and I can make you disappear. For good. DeVries scowled. What do you want from me? The man nodded. There you go. That's the weasel of a man I've come to know and loathe. He took a seat on a nearby rock, just out of DeVries' grasp. Why does the CIA want Hawkeye? DeVries swallowed. I don't know, and I don't care. The man frowned. I think you do know, and if you want to make it out of this place alive, you are going to care. A lot. DeVries clenched a fist, but with his hands and feet bound, he was helpless. Hawkeye's got access to a map they need. The man nodded. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. What does the map lead to? Why do they need it? DeVries shrugged. I don't know. The man looked down at him for a moment, allowing the silence of the place to fill the air, then flicked off his flashlight. Guess we don't need you, then. DeVries panicked at the thought of being abandoned down there in the dark. You're gonna leave me here? The man snorted. Your buddies will be back soon to get you. I'm sure they'll take good care of you. All right. So, yes, that's where we're at. Let's finish up this chapter. You leave me, and I'll tell Tolstoy, or who is it? What's her name? Tolstoy. I should have named her that. That would be funny, actually. Tolston about you. DeVries is just having a really bad day today. Hey! You gotta hit the store while the terrain lets up. Catch you all as you can. Have a great weekend, Jeff. Good luck at the store. Good luck with the storm. Let him celebrate driving with no adult. Well, that's too young to have a child. That depends on how old he is. If he's old enough to play the game, he's old enough to take the responsibility for the game you play. quite the right word. Disappeared. No. Faded. That's the word I'm looking for. Alrighty. I like it. I definitely like it. We're cooking with Crisco now, guys. This is turning out to be pretty good. We're going to keep these notes so that I remember where we are with our plot. But that is going to be a stream for today. Yeah, it's 3:15. We have done an excellent job of telling the story. Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate your presence. I do appreciate your participation. I hope you are enjoying the story as much as I am. It is turning out to be quite the surprising thing. I think, let's see, we'll take one final poll. Whose point of view do we work with for the next chapter? Hawkeye, Mortis, Lauren. Do we pick her back up? Or do we go back to, who's our other friend? Goodness. I should remember this. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to, let's see. Pull this back down to remember. And Seymour, there we go. There we go. We'll decide who we start with next. Yeah, it has been quite a few twists and turns. It's definitely not predictable. Yes. All right. Seymour, 1 vote. All right, so we'll have Seymour arrive next. That'll be where we start. And we will call that a stream for today. Thank you guys for joining me. Don't forget, it's art and chilling, drawing and chilling on Monday at 6:30 if you want to join me there. And Thursday, we got Real Talk at 6:30 p.m. Catch you up on all the latest of happenings. Plus, we can discuss anything you particularly feel like discussing. And then we'll be back here next week for more writing and chatting. Thank you guys for joining me.